The movie starts at Culver University in Virginia, where General Thaddeus Ross meets with Dr. Bruce Banner, who's dating Ross's daughter Betty. Ross wants Bruce to try an experiment to make people immune to gamma radiation, but it goes wrong. Bruce turns into the Hulk whenever his heart races, causing chaos and making him a fugitive. 5 years later, Bruce is in Brazil, trying to forget his troubled past. He wakes up from a nightmare and goes about his morning routine, including feeding his dog. Bruce spends his time in Brazil trying to control his emotions and keep his heart rate in check. He learns relaxation techniques to avoid getting too angry or excited. During the day, he works as a laborer at a local factory, handling dry goods and cleaning up messes. He tries to steer clear of trouble, especially from the tough guys at a bottling factory nearby. Occasionally, he uses his skills to help fix electrical problems. One day, while on the job, he accidentally cuts himself on a metal clip, and his blood drips through the floors onto the factory belts. Panicked, Bruce yells for the belts to stop, causing confusion among the workers. After inspecting the area and cleaning up the blood, he gives the all clear, and work resumes as usual. No one notices the drop of blood that fell into a bottle which is to be sent to the USA. On his way back home, Bruce makes a stop to pick up a package from someone. Once he's home, he sets up his homemade computer and contacts someone named Mr. Blue in America. They're collaborating on finding a cure for Bruce's condition. After analyzing the package, which contains a flower, and applying its juice to his blood, Bruce sadly reports that there's been no change. Mr. Blue suggests that Bruce come to New York to gather more data, including contamination levels, exposure rates, and types and amounts of radiation. In a small town in the USA, an elderly man collapses after drinking juice. The man, revealed to be Stan Lee, succumbs to gamma poisoning from a beverage imported from Brazil. Thunderbolt Ross, alerted by his chief assistant Major Kathleen Spar, swiftly organizes a team to investigate. With the help of his old army pal General Greller, Ross assembles a task force led by the Russian-born, American-trained Emil Blonsky. Ross briefs the team that their mission is to apprehend a scientist who has stolen military secrets. Bruce receives a message from Mr. Blue, indicating possible success in finding a cure but requiring Bruce's blood for confirmation. Reluctantly, Bruce carefully sends off his blood to him. Later that night, as Bruce sleeps peacefully, his dog Rick starts barking. Unbeknownst to Bruce, commandos have surrounded his apartment and are monitoring him with a camera, which Rick promptly devours. Sensing danger, Bruce escapes from his apartment just as the commandos blast the door open and shoot tranquilizers at what they think is him, but turns out to be just pillows. Bruce hides in the apartment of Martina below, giving the commandos a slip. After a brief pause, he hits the ground but is spotted by Blonsky. A frantic chase ensues, with Bruce darting across rooftops and scaling buildings. Accidentally crashing into a group of people, who turn out to be the gang from the factory, they join the pursuit. Bruce ducks into the factory to shake them off, but both the gang and the commandos catch sight of each other. Cornered by the gang, Bruce pleads for mercy, fearing his heart rate will trigger a transformation. Just as the troops arrive, Bruce's fear and frustration boil over, and he transforms into the Hulk. The troops open fire, and the creature, now the Hulk, unleashes a deafening roar, charging at them. Blonsky maneuvers to a higher vantage point, aiming for a clear shot. Just as the last soldier falls, Blonsky takes his chance, but the Hulk catches sight of him. In a flash, the Hulk confronts Blonsky, sending him flying with a powerful blow before disappearing into the jungle, victorious. Hours later, Ross and Spar scour Bruce's apartment and computer, searching for clues. Blonsky storms in, demanding answers about what he witnessed. However, Ross remains tight-lipped. Meanwhile, Bruce awakens beside a waterfall, disoriented and disheveled, his torn pants barely hanging on. Hearing a truck nearby, he heads towards the road, where a driver informs him he's in Guatemala. Hitching a ride into town, Bruce sets off on a journey northward, determined to start anew and find fresh clothing along the way. Blonsky presses Ross for answers about the colossal creature they encountered. Finally, Ross decides to disclose the truth. He reveals that during World War II, numerous special programs were initiated to bolster America's military superiority, most operating under an infantry weapons development initiative. One such program focused on biotech force enhancement, better known as the Super Soldier Project. About 5 years ago, Ross resurrected this program, enlisting Bruce and his team to lead the effort. However, something catastrophic occurred, resulting in what Ross perceives as Bruce's entire being becoming the exclusive property of the US government. Bruce seeks help from a man named Stan, who offers him a job. The next day, we find Bruce delivering pizzas in his old uniform, and one of his stops happens to be at a science lab. Using his charm, Bruce convinces the guard to let him upstairs, where he bribes the head computer genius with a pizza for access to the computers. However, to Bruce's dismay, he discovers that all data on his experiment is missing. Desperate, Bruce contacts Blue to deliver the bad news before hastily leaving. That night, as Bruce prepares to depart, Stan is about to close up when two unexpected customers walk in, Betty and Samson. Engaging in conversation with Stan, Bruce unknowingly comes down the stairs just as Stan agrees to make them a pizza. When Bruce opens the kitchen door, he locks eyes with Betty, who recognizes him instantly. Betty rushes outside but fails to spot Bruce, who hides behind a dumpster. Upon returning inside, she pressures Stanley into confessing the truth. Later, amidst a downpour, Bruce walks along a deserted highway when Betty pulls up behind him. Seeing her, Bruce hesitates, and Betty rushes towards him, pleading for him to stay. In her house, Betty reveals that she has the data of the experiment which can be used to cure Bruce and gives to him. Betty trays Bruce nicely, and while giving some cloths to Bruce they start kissing, but since the blood pressure goes up due to excitement, Bruce stops kissing, saying that too excitement is not good for him, which turns him into Hulk. Meanwhile, Ross retrieves a serum from cold storage and prepares Blonsky for injection, cautioning him that it will be painful. However, Blonsky, determined to gain power, grits his teeth and urges them to proceed without delay. The next day, Bruce and Betty stroll through the college campus on their way to the bus station. As Betty adjusts Bruce's shirt to make him look more presentable, he catches sight of a soldier lurking behind a building column. Sensing danger, Bruce urges Betty to distance herself from him and then bolts. As the soldier closes in, Betty scans the area for help and manages to persuade Ross to intervene. Despite her pleas, Ross orders his team to pursue Bruce. Bruce seeks refuge in a library, hastily retrieving a drive and swallowing it before fleeing. However, the delay allows the soldiers to catch up, trapping him on an overpass. Blonsky advances, launching 2 canisters of knockout gas into the bridge. But as Bruce transforms into the Hulk, he bursts out, engaging in a fierce battle with the soldiers. Leaping and crushing their vehicles, Hulk proves unstoppable, until Blonsky joins the fray, darting around Hulk like a mosquito, bombarding him with rounds from a grenade launcher. Hulk is lured into the path of 2 sonic blasters, but upon seeing Betty in distress, he manages to dismantle them using parts from a nearby sculpture. Enraged, Blonsky confronts Hulk, only to be swiftly slammed into a tree, shattering every bone in his body. As chaos erupts, Ross calls in a helicopter for backup just as Betty rushes towards Hulk. In a desperate move, Hulk hurls a piece of the statue at the chopper, causing it to crash and ignite into a massive inferno. Shielding Betty from the flames, Hulk ensures her safety, albeit rendering her unconscious in the process. With Betty in his arms, Hulk retreats from the scene. At the hospital, Blonsky lies in an ICU bed, his body encased in plaster and plates, every bone broken, leaving him permanently immobilized. Meanwhile, Bruce Banner resolves to seek out Mr. Blue in New York, recognizing him as the only hope for restoring his humanity. With determination, Bruce sets out on his journey, driven by the desire to reclaim his normal life. In a university setting, Bruce and Betty encounter Dr. Samuel Stearns, whom they recognize as Mr. Blue. Meanwhile, the military base identifies Mr. Blue's true identity, and soldiers prepare to mobilize. Unnoticed, Blonsky examines himself in a mirror in a locker room, where his spine inexplicably elongates slightly. Mr. Blue informs Bruce that he has developed a potential antidote for his condition, cautioning that it may only reverse each transformation. He reveals that he has synthesized Bruce's blood samples into a substantial supply, aiming to harness its limitless potential for medicine. Concerned about the military's intentions, Bruce urges Stearns to destroy the blood supply before Blonsky arrives, fearing the consequences of the Hulk's power falling into their hands. As the military team set up for an ambush, a sniper tags Bruce from outside, causing him to collapse. Blonsky bursts in, knocking Bruce unconscious and roughly shoving Betty aside. Bruce and Betty are swiftly whisked away in a helicopter, leaving Blonsky behind. In a desperate bid for power, Blonsky orders Stearns to inject him with Bruce's blood, craving the Hulk's strength. The experiment goes awry, transforming Blonsky into the Abomination, a monstrous creature with size and strength surpassing that of the Hulk. Rampaging through Harlem, the Abomination attacks Stearns, inadvertently infecting him with Bruce's blood, causing him to mutate as well. The Abomination continues its destructive path, tearing up the streets and battling soldiers left in its wake. A soldier manages to alert Ross that the Hulk is on the loose. Ross, shocked, glances at Bruce, who appears equally stunned, insisting it's impossible. However, they soon receive visual confirmation of the Abomination's rampage. Realizing that only one thing can stop the chaos, Bruce and Ross agree to take action. They head to the scene, preparing to confront the monstrous threat. Despite Betty's pleas for him not to go through with it, Bruce insists he has to try. They share a heartfelt kiss before he allows himself to fall backwards, accepting that the Hulk is the only one who can stop the Abomination. Ross, recognizing the necessity, urges Bruce to confront the looming threat. Bruce leaps from Ross's helicopter and transforms upon impact with the ground. After a fierce battle throughout Harlem, the Hulk emerges victorious, nearly strangling the Abomination to death with a chain before sparing his life at Betty's urging. The Abomination is left for Ross and his forces to apprehend. After a tender moment with Betty, the Hulk departs from New York. A month later, Bruce is in Bella Coola, British Columbia, where he begins to embrace his transformation, learning to control it with a smirk on his face. In the final scene, Tony Stark approaches Ross at a local bar, informing him of plans to assemble a team. With that, the movie ends.
Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification button so that you will not miss any of our video updates.